The RightWay Foundation is transforming foster youth futures through housing, mental health, employment, and community. With your support, more transition-age foster youth can heal, grow, and thrive.
Welcome back to RightWay Podcast, where you know our theme is 10 minutes of healing the right way, where we turn our pain into power. I'm your host, Franco Vega. We have a part 2 of our awesome lead therapist for the RightWay Foundation, Andraya Slider. Welcome back.
Thank you, Franco.
Now we know why she's here. We heard about growing up on the left coast, and they shipped her to New Jersey shores. She didn't put the gel in her hair. She didn't turn in, what's that, Shuki, whatever her name is. Okay, okay, good to go. But we if you didn't hear last week's episode, please go back and listen to it, because now we know why Andraya's a therapist, or why she went into the field. Now I want to talk about the job you do today. So what does a day look like at RightWay Foundation for you?
For me, it's a variety of things. So I, oversee our clinical team, so that and our substance use team. So it could be anything from like providing clinical supervision, which I provide like an hour a week of just kind of like consultation about, caseloads and how to navigate client challenges and situations, and talking about different interventions. And I think it's a good opportunity for me to check in with the team to see how they're doing, and talk about any issues, like not necessarily like completely personal stuff, but like just how are they doing? Just checking in with them, because this job is the staff
on their personal life.
Yeah, because this job is really hard, and I know a lot of us take it home, and so it's really about talking about like finding ways to kind of separate the two. So we work through that in supervision. And then, I do a lot of data collection for the organization. Okay. So a lot of it is entering data, looking at outcomes, tracking the progress of people's goals. And, I do, I'm constantly looking at trainings and getting myself trained on things, getting our team trained on, different interventions and approaches. I supervise MSW interns. So we've got MSW students from Cal State Dominguez Hills here who are working on their, master's degree in social work. And so I meet with them weekly. I'm overseeing kind of their practicum experience or internship. I help with, reporting and grant writing and kind of wherever I'm needed, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically you supervise and you run our mental health team. My first question is, just to piggyback off when you deal with our staff personal life, do you think any of the lessons or the stories they hear from our youth helps them in their personal life? To become a certain person, better for worse?
Helps them. Yeah, I think if anything, I think it gives them the opportunity to reflect on like the parallels between what they're hearing and maybe their own personal stories.
Okay.
And that's what I always encourage, is unpack your own trauma or your own experiences to be more impactful for the young people that we serve, right? It's always important to check in with yourself on those things, because it's going to affect and impact the relationship that you have with your, clients.
What's the makeup of your staff? Males, females?
One male, 3 females. Oh, well, then me. So, yeah, so 4. 4
so
to
1.
Is
this a female dominant business?
Of what? Yes. I mean, I think of what we all know. I think, yes, it is. It tends to be.
Now here go the billion-dollar question. Why is that?
Oh man, I mean, I don't want to speak for
our
everyone. Men out there.
It's just your.
Actually, so I can't speak for everybody and represent everybody, obviously, and I don't claim to. But I have talked to a lot of young men, and I think there's a challenge with like accepting that it's okay to express yourself, to talk about your feelings, and to seek out help, right? Ask for help. From what I've learned, and what I've also learned is there are some men or male clients even that we have, or just men that I know that prefer a male therapist. and they don't necessarily feel comfortable talking to a woman,
but they're not getting it.
Right.
Because they don't exist.
Right. Exactly. Right. So it's like a it's like a whole cycle.
So we have a problem.
Uh-huh.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
We have a dilemma.
A little bit. Although, we do get male clients, but
we got a lot of male clients.
We do. And we have some for therapy, but I think after hearing feedback, I think some of them would be better served by having a male of color that's reflecting their identity, and
So what are you guys doing, or what are we doing to change that? What's the plan?
So right now we have a partnership with Cal State Dominguez Hills, and we have a stipend program in partnership with them, where we are providing a stipend for a year of internship. So they intern with us. So men of color will intern with us through their MSW program, and they receive a stipend in return. And the goal is to retain them for, to retain them within the RightWay system. But that's the goal.
Correct.
Right. And we're working on that now.
And we're on our first year pilot, right?
This is the first year.
First year pilot. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we do need some more brothers to get in front of our younger brothers, So what's a typical caseload look like, or a story behind a typical foster youth? And I know there's many different stories, but how does that look?
I wouldn't say there's like a typical story.
Yeah, correct.
I wouldn't say there's a typical story at all. Yeah, I think it varies. I think there's differences.
How severe in their trauma would you rate it, or a story of that our listeners had no clue of what our youth goes through?
Like,
anything.
What do you mean? The severity of things? Or?
What does your therapist have to deal with? I'm trying to paint the picture of what does your therapist team have to deal with?
Yeah.
What kind of problems are unleashed on them?
I think things like, I think stories about what bio parents have done to their own kids, hearing those kinds of stories that's weighs heavily, right? It's a lot, and that's a significant thing to work through, right? Especially your parents being the primary caregiver, the people that are supposed to be taking care of all of your needs, and for various reasons, right? Sometimes not even intentionally, parents, inflict something on their children, right? But it's because they may not have the tools and the resources, and this is probably a whole other conversation for another day. But they don't have the tools and resources, to be able to even provide or parent or whatever the case may be, right? And
we heard a little bit about the trauma, what a kid would go through as a young person. Success. What does success look like for your team?
Yeah, that's a good question, because success, it varies, right? It's different from person to person, and what we perceive as success doesn't reflect necessarily what our clients perceive as success. So we always go with what the client's perspective of success is. What do you want to achieve, and what's reasonable to you, right? If I'm someone who is engaging in negative self-talk every single day, maybe I just want to stop engaging in negative self-talk on Saturdays and Sundays and give myself a break. And so and if I can do that, that's success.
Wow. Negative self-talk.
Right?
Yeah, I heard that somewhere the other day, that our body is an automobile and your tongue is the steering wheel. And what comes out of your tongue can steer you in the
powers the whole,
and it can steer you in the wrong direction.
Yeah,
can steer you off the cliff.
That's true.
Okay, all right, awesome. Just to close it out, what do you see we do different at the RightWay Foundation compared to other folks? Because I know we didn't even get into your resume, but you have a lot of years in this field. What do you see that's different?
I think that we do. I think we do a lot of things differently, but I think if there's one thing I can say, it's we make it very family oriented and very not personal, but yeah, it's just it's a family atmosphere. It's a family feel. You don't come in here thinking like it feels institutionalized. I don't think it feels that way. I think it feels warm and welcoming, like a family would would hopefully make people feel. So I think there's that, and I think what you and I being in this field have learned is we can't do things the way that they've kind of always historically been done. And so I think that shows in the way that we approach services here, and I think in our mental health services, right? Like, for example, like there's no termination. You can be with a therapist for as long as you need, right? Years, if that's the case. You can, we're not going to penalize somebody for canceling appointments, right? Or not showing up, or, right? So we're just meeting people where they're at and being able to be flexible in our approach, and just kind of, take it from there. And then what I like about here too is we can bring sort of like that. I know I've said this before too, but we could bring that kind of like private practice feel to our space, right? Yes, we're a nonprofit organization. We're a community-based organization.
And no, we don't charge.
Yeah, but we, yeah, exactly. And yes, our services are free of charge, but that doesn't mean that the space has to reflect that, right? Correct, it doesn't have to look we don't have to have like folding chairs where people are sitting. We can have comfortable spaces, right? Okay. We can have a nice comfortable couch. And I think like when I go to my therapist, I sit on a nice comfortable couch. I know I'm going to get that privacy, right? Correct. I know that it's going to smell good when I go in there. It's going to feel warm when I'm in there. My therapist always offers me a blanket when I'm sitting on the couch. Wow. Would you like a blanket? Okay. Would you like some water? Just getting me that, like, making me feel comfortable. Okay. And we can do that here. We totally do that here. Yeah. Simple little things like that, simple things like that go a long way.
Yeah. Simple kind of makes it better.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I want to thank you. Thank you for finally showing up, showing your wisdom. It's long overdue. Everyone always mentions Andraya as the therapist, and we love her. So I want to thank you, audience, for tuning in with the Right Way podcast, where our theme is turning our pain into power. I'm your host, Franco Vega. We'll be back next week with another awesome guest. I want to say thank you on behalf of all the foster youth we serve. Peace and God bless, and we're out.